Okay, go.
This is the tour of the cardiovascular system. If we start with the heart, this is the aortic arch, so we're going to do the arteries first. And then from the aortic arch, it branches off into two different arteries. Right here is the left subclavian vein, or it's left subclavian artery, and this is the brachiocephalic artery. The brachiocephalic artery then branches into three arteries right here, 1, 2, and 3. These first two are the left and right common carotid arteries, which go up through the head. And this one over here is the right subclavian artery. If we follow the left subclavian artery down, you can see that it branches off right here. This is the thyrocervical trunk, which goes up to the shoulder, so to drain the shoulder. And this is the subscapular artery. In between the thyrocervical trunk and the subscapular artery is the axillary artery. And then the axillary artery then turns into the brachial artery, which goes down the arm, and then up here it goes into the ulnar and radial arteries. These all work together to drain the arm. If you go back towards the heart and down through here, this is the, down here is the descending thoracic aorta, which then goes through the diaphragm. And down here where it branches off into the hepatic vein, and to the adrenal lumbar artery right here, which drains the adrenal gland, and the renal arteries, which take blood from the kidneys. Right before the renal gland, the descending thoracic aorta becomes the descending abdominal aorta. Then if you follow that down, it breaks off again into the gonadal artery right here. As you can see, it's going into the uterus. And then this is the iliolumbar artery, which was severed, but it goes off this way, and that is responsible for draining the back muscles. It then goes down into the, this would be the left internal or left external iliac artery and the left internal iliac artery. If we follow the external artery, it then breaks off again into the femoral and saphenous arteries, so the pink ones, and then that goes down into the sural artery and the popliteal artery. The popliteal artery then goes down into the posterior tibial artery and the anterior tibial artery. So those are all responsible for draining the legs. If we go back up towards the rib cage, you can see pink lines right under the ribs. Those are the intercostal arteries. The next, we're going to look at the veins in the venous system. 65% of the body's blood is in the venous system, so at any given time. So from here, this is the superior vena cava, which goes up, and right here you can see the azygos vein and the mammary vein right here. That's responsible for draining the chest. From here, this is the brachiocephalic vein, which breaks off into the external jugular vein and the subclavian vein. The external jugular vein then splits off right here to the internal jugular vein. These can be very difficult to find in the cat. The subclavian vein then goes down, and just like the arteries, it goes off into the subscapular vein and the brachial vein. The brachial vein then goes down to carry blood to the ulnar vein, which goes down that way, and the radial vein down that way. The jugular veins also have veins that come off of that as the facial veins. As you can see here, the anterior facial vein. If we go back down, this is the inferior vena cava, right here, which, just like the descending thoracic aorta, goes through the diaphragm. And if we lift this up, you can see it right here. It also has an adrenal lumbar vein, which gives blood to the adrenal gland, and a renal vein, which carries blood to the kidneys. It also goes down to right here. You can see the gonadal vein, which is important for giving blood to the gonads. So since this is a female cat, the uterus right here, and the iliolumbar vein, which goes off this way. It then goes down to the common iliac vein right here, where it goes into the external iliac vein and the internal iliac vein. The external iliac vein then breaks off to the deep femoral vein and the femoral vein, and the femoral vein then breaks off into the popliteal vein and the great saphenous vein, and the popliteal vein again breaks off to the posterior tibial vein and the anterior tibial vein. If we go back up here, that was all part of the systemic circulatory system, which is responsible for getting blood to and from body tissues and organs throughout the body. The other system is the pulmonary system, which gets blood to and from the lungs for oxidation. So if you start at the right atrium, which is right here, this part right here of the heart, it follows the pulmonary trunk, which you can't really see, but it goes into the lung, and the pulmonary trunk then breaks off into pulmonary arteries, which break off into smaller arterioles and capillaries. And then once blood is filled with oxygen, it returns through the veins. It goes to veins and then around to the left atrium, which is back here. And that was the tour of the cardiovascular system.